Welcome to Two Mics No Masters. Loud music, louder opinions. This is Andy.
I'm Patrick.
Hello.
Rewind.
Scratch that, puppy.
Two minds, no masters. Two minds, no masters. Two minds, no masters. Two minds, no masters.
So, I wanted our first episode, our first official episode, to be about punk. And the reason, you've expressed that maybe that's not really your area of expertise, so to speak.
True.
And the reason I really wanted to talk about it was because for me, it's really the root of everything. And although we've talked about how, we've sort of come to this place we're at now on different paths, I think at the very core, at the very root of much of the music we listen to is this sort of punk aesthetic or philosophy, this idea firmly rooted in punk and counterculture. The idea of not simply just being anti-something, because I think punk is a much broader and deeper subject matter. But some of my fondest, most early memories were discovering punk, and it sort of set the foundation for aesthetics and values leading up to where we are today. I think back about, and I think everybody sort of, correct me if I'm wrong, I think when people say punk, everybody sort of has their own version of what that looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
Back when I didn't know any better, I thought, to me, bands like the Sex Pistols were punk. That's all I knew. That's what was exposed to me. And so my idea of punk was very narrow. And the more time I spent in the scene and the more time I spent around people and read more and, read the zines and the books and listen to the records and read the lyrics and started to develop a much broader idea of what punk was. It wasn't limited to just a type of music.
Yeah, to me it means like an attitude.
An attitude, most definitely. Yeah, most definitely an attitude. And it doesn't have to be anti-everything, F the world, although I think a good part of it is being mindful and anti or against some of the more mainstream concepts and ideas of society.
Yeah, plus even mainstream though, like when they have like a movie, like say a Hollywood movie, and there's the kid's like a punk rocker, and they're dressed up like a certain style or something, and they're rebelling against their parents. They hate their dad. I always think of that stuff as so funny,
Hollywood or just movie makers tend to get it wrong.
Yeah.
It's their version of punk, and it's usually horribly wrong. Comical. Even.
Right, exactly. It's
comical
funny.
Even.
There's like a certain, I do think there's a certain rebellious attitude towards it, and because it's rebellious music, obviously.
Yes.
That's the whole point. Like, that's not making music to sound pretty or accessible to the majority. It's supposed to be like a big F you to, authorities.
I have a personal story. When I was young, I was about 14, and I was full on into skateboarding, and my love of punk had already been established, and metal, and all those things that drive parents crazy, you know.
Yep.
And I was also really into sports at that time, and I was playing football, and I went to my coach, skateboard, you know, in hand, and said, I'm quitting the team, you know. I didn't tell him why, essentially, because he probably would have laughed in my face. But in my head, at that time, playing football didn't align with my version of what punk was. You know, I wanted to listen to this aggressive, abrasive music and, you know, walk around with my middle finger in the air and tell everybody what I thought. And it didn't playing football wasn't in that picture. Fast forward, you know, I realize now that it's more the attitude and less about the two things that seem non-compatible. You know?
Right. There's a certain line. Yeah.
There's absolutely a line there.
Yep.
And I only use that as an example of because that was really the first time that I can remember being more self-aware and making a conscious decision to move in this direction.
Interesting.
Sort of before that, it had been really exploratory. I was exploring, and I think it still remains exploratory to a degree, but I started to consciously move in that direction, you know, aligning myself with the things that I believe were my values.
Right. Kind of like becoming your own person.
Yes.
You know, growing up.
Yes, that's exactly
Your
right.
own identity. Yep.
Yeah. Well said, Andy. And so that's also where I just started to kind of weed through sort of the difference between the punk, the sort of generic punk attitude and those punk values that transcended the music, right? Because, you know, I think a lot of people who don't know anything about it also think that it sounds a certain way.
Right. That's what I feel like in my head too.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like, oh,
fair.
Yeah, because I don't care for punk. It's just not my style.
Yeah.
So everything sounds the same to me.
Yeah.
Which is what outsiders do to any kind of heavy music. They're like, well, it's all noise. It all sounds the same.
It all sounds the same.
I'm like,
it's all screaming. It's just noise, which we hear a lot. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
of course.
I hear a lot. You know, but before we, you know, we started recording, I mentioned that I thought that you probably know more about it than you even recognize because it's so ingrained in this counterculture, this underground thing that we love, that we're involved in. It's an inherent part of it, whether you're metal,
right,
or hardcore, or whatever.
It's still influential no matter what.
Yes, yeah, those same values. You know, some of those.
I've always wondered, like, what it's. I feel like that. Speaking of like drawing a line or like realizing where a line cuts off or ends is like hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
Hardcore. Like I should say, sorry, punk or punk hardcore. Because to me, it's like, where is that line?
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, since I'm not really a punk fan, but I like hardcore. Like, what bands to you are punk? Like straight up punk or punk hardcore?
You know?
I think a band that comes to my mind initially is Bad Brains.
Yes.
Because to me, yeah, of course they're punk, but they're also credited as hardcore,
Yeah.
for sure. And you hear some of the records, you're like, they're both.
Yes.
Definitely. You know, are they like the earliest hardcore punk? Like there was punk bands before them, but were they the most? Because Bad Brains is pretty abrasive, especially for that time.
Yes.
Like in '82, they were just, that album is insane.
When I was younger, there was this book called Band in DC.
Yeah.
It was called Band in DC, and it had all these pictures of like DC punk bands. And I was introduced to, you know, a lot of the a lot of the Discord record bands, or even before really Discord was a well-known label, and I had already been listening to them and really liked what they were doing. Their sound doesn't fit neatly into any sort of
Nope.
any pocket or box of what people think punk is or what hardcore is.
I love watching the CB's video of them. People just going crazy.
Insane.
It makes
Back-
you wish you were there so bad.
HR doing backflips.
Oh my
Just
God.
incredible, the energy. I actually run into people that don't even consider, in the annals of, punk and hardcore metal history, they don't consider Bad Brains to be significant, which blows my mind.
Yeah, like, come on. It's like even being a metal guy, it's like even if I didn't even care for them, which I do, but you would still give credit to them because without them, what bands wouldn't exist? A ton.
Yes. And how many say they're influenced by them?
Right.
A lot.
A lot.
A lot. Especially people around our age bracket who, early years, they were highly influential on me. Whether it's punk or hardcore, however you want to label it, I don't know that that's necessarily that important. Whether it's punk or
Right.
hardcore punk
Yeah.
or hard,
Because they still have the attitude.
that's correct. It's
And
all about the attitude.
yeah, isn't that one of their songs actually?
Yes.
So, I mean,
I think that's a good example. And it wasn't even necessarily the intent. I know people talk about Bad Brains to death and Bad Brains.
Right.
There's a reason,
of course.
they're important. And they're a good example of that line between hardcore and punk and metal. It's blurry. And that's part of why I wanted to talk about this, because there is, in my opinion, there is no clear line. It's a matter of perspective,
even though a lot of people would argue that too.
Oh, no doubt.
Because they'd be like, well, no, these bands are hardcore. These
Yeah.
bands are punk, period. Oh, okay.
And they'd be wrong.
Right. just to let you know, if you're listening, you're wrong.
If you're listening, you're wrong. No, but again, it's a matter of perspective, and I think to argue about what's punk and what's not punk is very not punk.
Right, that's true. Yeah, good point.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not punk enough.
Like, okay.
It's like,
No, it's, yeah.
There's people who still judge others by the way they look. Like, you don't fit the profile, so therefore
Right.
you're not punk, or that T-shirt, or those records.
Right.
Gatekeeping doesn't seem very punk to me.
Right, because you don't fit a certain thing.
Yes.
It's like, what? So now you're the parents telling kids they can't get in the scene? It's like, that doesn't
that's
make
right.
sense.
That's right. Like, back in my day.
Yeah, it's like, we got to, like, get out the tape measure. Like, is your mohawk tall enough?
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
sorry, you can't come in. Can't
Right.
go to this show. It's like, okay, get over yourself. I don't know.
Like, are those New Balance? That's so not punk. Be like,
Right.
well, I'm also, I got back problems. So,
Right. I'm over 40.
right.
And New Balance makes wide shoes, so late.
Exactly. And maybe that's more of an immature attitude. Maybe that, I don't know. I think I keep circling in my own head, circling back to, the ethics of it all. The aesthetic is one part of it, the way it looks.
Right.
But the important part, which I think transcends genres, whether it's punk music, hardcore, or metal, the thing that ties them all together is the ethic. The values behind it. Anti-racism, anti-sexism.
Yeah, true.
Anti-homophobia. Treating people with respect is super punk, especially in an environment where people think it's acceptable, society as a whole, think it's acceptable to ostracize or judge or
Right.
attack someone based on a difference in values. And I think punk is more of an inclusive philosophy. And I think those, like I said, those things,
Yeah.
the inclusiveness and the feeling of family and of belonging, at its very core, transcends.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yep. That stretches upon
Yes.
throughout all genres.
Yes.
Of the underground.
Correct. And you hear it referred to as a community a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an apt description. And that's not necessarily what attracted me to it, but what keeps me connected to it is the connections
Right.
of that community.
Well, it's funny. Used to go see a ton of bands like all the time, every time they came around, and you realize the same people would keep going to those shows.
Yes.
So after a while, it became more about seeing the people than seeing the band, because of those connections. Like, oh, I'm actually friends with these people. You know.
Yes.
So it kind of transcended the music. You know.
Yes.
But
Yeah, and I love that. You know, that's one of the things I love about going to shows. I get to see people I haven't seen in a long time.
Yep.
And in many cases, you're just picking up right where you left off.
no, for sure.
And there's always that connection, the musical connection. And so we talk about punk as an aesthetic, as a movement, a community. I think it's all of those things. I remember, you know, being into the music, and then when I started going to shows, feeling like, oh yeah, this is what it's all about. You know, being
Yep.
in this space with these other people that are
Yeah.
kind of like me. You know.
Yeah, you kind of all have the same goal.
Mm-hmm.
You're there to watch music and just be part of something, and you know, if you choose to, just go off and dance and just feel the music.
Yeah, feel
It's
the
the
best.
best.
Yeah.
And I feel like back when we first started going to shows, you would see like you would see a crazy pit, but you would also see someone almost falling, like literally like going flying, and people wouldn't even let him hit the ground. It was like you were up off, like before you even hit the ground, you were up on your feet again, because people just, it was like a community. They cared about everyone there, even if they didn't know you.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
the pit is it's cathartic in a way. You know, it's a place.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a place to show your love for the music and move freely. It's a place to take out some of those aggressions, and it's even though it can be violent, it's a controlled violence.
sure.
It's ultimately a safe space.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you know, you used to like actually hit somebody by accident for real, and turn around and say, "Hey, my bad," or something. You know, like someone hit you on the back, like, "Hey, I'm here." Okay, sorry. You know, now it's like, "I'm here." It's like, "Yeah, I know. That's why I'm punching you in the skull." It's like,
Yeah, right.
so it's sad, but
That's why my nose is crooked.
there you go. That's why I still have like bumps on my hand from getting crushed. But
Yes.
how was I going to go with that?
and
It's
and,
like,
and that's part of it, and that's you know, that feeling of community and of supporting each other in this thing that we're all a part of. Ultimately, punk it's not really a spectator sport, so to speak. It requires it and is encouraging of participation.
Right.
You know, I think there's so many aspects of it. The musicians themselves, the people go to shows, and people buy merch and records and
Yep.
put out zines. Even the people who review the records, even though sometimes I question their
right, their taste.
and their opinions.
It's true. That's a good point, because it takes a bunch of people to make these things happen. You know, like for a scene to be alive, it takes all those people.
That's correct. Yeah.
You know, so they all play a vital role for it to carry on. You know.
Yes, it's everybody's piece is necessary, and I don't think any one piece is more important than the other. their coexistence is required to keep
Right.
a scene moving and thriving. And what I love about it is it's constantly evolving.
Right. That's what I was just thinking about too. It started out as this certain thing, kind of bled into this a little bit. Then it took some what's the word I'm looking for? Some just some pieces of other stuff and became something new, and then new people got in the scene, fresh like new ideas for bands, and everything just kind of grew from there,
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
So-
even though we've been around forever, I think. So again, we're back to everybody plays an important piece, and I think that hardcore, particularly, and punk it's a youth driven movement. I think young people, it's always been about young people, and they're the ones who are driving it and defining what it is. And some of the salty old guys like us, not that we complain about it, but we have a different perspective on it. We've seen it one way, and we've seen it changed, whether we like it or not.
Right.
And we've seen it grow or progress into something else that's defined by a whole new generation. And it's not any less valid, it's just different. And so I make an effort to really try to listen and be aware of what's happening and not be stuck in my view of what is punk or not punk, or
Right.
and
Worried
these-
about labels. Yeah.
worried about labels, or is this punk enough, or we had this conversation earlier about catching some heat from people because of a t-shirt you're wearing or a record you like, or I've never and still won't apologize for being who I am.
Right.
So that's one of the things about punk or any scene that I don't necessarily care for. It's the other stuff that I really that I love, the ethic of it, and I carry it along with, like bands like
Yeah.
Fugazi, the way they or Ian MacKaye in general is legendary. Everybody knows who he is. If you're involved in this scene, you've been involved for a while, you can't not know the name.
Right.
But he has lived one of the most punk lifestyles I can think of. He is who he is. He's genuine. He's built this label not based on money and sales, but essentially putting out music that they love
Yep.
and being a part of this community. And I think that's really what it's about.
Absolutely.
That
100%.
that feeling of community, that feeling of
Well, because like the same values he had at, say, 20 years old or 19, he's still living today.
that's correct.
That's incredible.
Yes. And I think a lot of people, we've seen some people really start in one place and sort of, as an adult, grow into something
Yeah.
very different.
Right.
Sort of, that's not really what we're talking about here. I think you nailed it with, these values we pick up at 20 really help solidify who we are and our belief system.
Right, because I think actually two words you just used there I think are pretty important and actually become different, I think, with age, is you could have core values that's like a 19, 20-year-old and still have them late 40s, early 50s, whatever, maybe your whole life. But even but certain beliefs, I think that's one thing you can actually grow with, because beliefs, I think, change. Because obviously you're stupid at 20, obviously. Like, come on. Like, you don't know anything.
Nothing.
You think you do, and you're like, I believe in this, and it's like, but it means the world when you're 20, and it's commendable. It's like, I respect that. But then when you're 48, 50 years old, your beliefs have completely changed, But,
Yeah, and it's not even. Yeah, I think that's a valid point, and not for me. You nailed it. You're not the same person you were at 20 as you are at 40.
It shouldn't be.
You shouldn't be. Hopefully you're not.
Right.
People grow, their perspectives change through experience. Sometimes values change. I think my values have stayed intact. The things that I think are important have remained important. They just look different to me.
Yeah. They've just shifted importance, probably.
Yes. They shift in importance, and also the way they fit into my life, because I'm a different person.
Right. Right.
They might not apply to my life in the same way. I have the utmost respect for those people who just live it, and their decisions are based on this belief system that's firmly rooted in punk, the DIY ethic,
Yep.
the art and people over profit sort of thing, and we should dig a little into about, whether money, bands making money is a good thing or a bad thing.
Right.
And we'll definitely dig into that.
That's actually a great example, because even a band like, say, Fugazi, they start out probably, I assume, playing for nothing at first, and they obviously they were big back then. But then for a band that doesn't play, say, for like 20, 30 years, and they get back together, well, they're not going to get back together for $500 to
No.
play a show. Why would they? So money, that's the thing. Even if you're even Ian, it's like when you're 50, 60 years old, he's not going to drive or take a plane somewhere which is, I'm sure the show's still important to him, but it's like, well, how much is it going to be? We're adults, we have costs, we have whatever, living, we want to get paid, food, be comfortable. It's like, you still got to cover these costs, That's just the reality of life. Unfortunately, like, money comes into play first and foremost.
Yes, it does. As much as we try to avoid it,
Yeah.
it does. In the early days of these bands, we've both been to $5 shows.
Yep.
A lot of them.
A lot.
There was a time where I thought $10 for a show.
Like, these guys sold out.
Yeah.
I remember it being, I think the first $7 show I went to, I was like, I didn't even feel right about going. I'm like, this is like against what it's supposed to be.
And that's a great point of like our belief system of what was acceptable within that scene,
Yep.
within that community, was like, oh, you're a sellout if, the old feud between Sick of It All and Born Against. And I don't think there's anything wrong for an artist being able to live off their art.
You shouldn't, that's the thing, you should be able to live, not struggle. Like, why is Sick of It All playing 40 years later if they're just struggling still? That doesn't make sense.
Yes.
They're hardcore legends. It's like, they should be living comfortably.
Yes. Agreed.
Like, they put, I mean, in some way you could say, like, we both have full-time jobs, and that's hard every day to get up and go to that and try and find the will to do it. But because it's funny, people that always think that being in a band, it's just the best thing in the world. Yeah, you ask someone that in like Sick of It All, they're going to tell you something completely different. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they love it. It's their life. They wouldn't keep doing it if they didn't love it. But is it easy? No. I can't imagine the stuff they would say, to keep going.
And I think they and a lot of other bands will tell you they do it for the love of it, they're not getting rich.
No.
They're living, but it's still a struggle, and they choose to do it anyway because it's the love and it's the belief. Does that mean a band should forever only charge $5
right.
for their shows or $10 for their records? Mm-hmm. That'd be cool.
Right, for the consumer.
But I started going to shows my first show was 1990. I was 17. The first punk, like hardcore punk show I went to. Before that, it was a lot of like, bands like The Cure and, those sort of alt bands,
Yep.
Depeche Mode and
right.
Saw the Pixies a bunch of times.
That's cool.
That was sort of my lane. And then I discovered hardcore and punk, and it changed my world. So it's changed. The point is it's from that moment till 2026. It's changed. It's
Yeah.
changed. Money has changed it. I think there are people who are only into entities and people who are only into it. Some of these large concert production companies and venues are clearly only into it for the money.
Sure.
They've learned that they can capitalize on this movement, which is not great.
And that's the thing. As much as it sucks, there's no other option. It's like you have to play by the rules sometimes,
Yes.
or just don't play.
But it hurts me to pay $50, $60 to see bands that we used to see for a lot less.
Yeah, and I think too, it would feel better if you paid $50 to go see like Sick of It All and Gnostic Front, and they were getting the money. Like, if there was like 2,500 kids at that show, and each person paid $50, and it got split between the bands, that'd be amazing.
It would be amazing.
But it's like, what's left for them? I know they have guarantees, but
Everybody gets their piece, and so by the time it gets to the band, they have a little bit of a piece.
right, it's like these guys are the ones hustling,
Yeah.
doing all the work. It's like, it's crazy.
Venues want a cut of the merch. They
That's-
want
yeah.
all kinds of stuff. And so those are the things, money in the scene, which is necessary to a degree. People need to eat, pay their rent.
Right.
And artists should be able to live off their art.
Right. Well, and think about where it's come. We're talking about like, go back even to like the early '80s with like Bad Brains, early Gnostic Front, bands like that, and till now, like you said, it's a whole different world.
Mm-hmm.
Where was I actually going with that? Where you said like, now everything is driven by money. Like the whole world changed, and it's just like you have to like, everything just costs more money, so you have to charge more. Period. I mean, it's unfortunate,
Well, I think it's indicative of the world as a whole. This is sort of what I was aiming at before, is for a band to still charge $5 for a show because we believe that's the cap.
Right. Like you guys can't charge more than
Yes. Otherwise, you're not punk anymore.
this. Right.
You're just greedy. It's all about the money. When in reality, what it costs them to even get to the show, produce the show, time out if they work, they time out from their jobs, away from their family.
Right.
There are so many different factors, and everything is more expensive.
It's crazy.
With that being said, I think it's disproportionate. I think because the ticket prices are so high, the costs are so high because everybody wants to make a buck, a profit off of
Yep.
something that's typically, the focus isn't about money, but we're living in a capitalist society. So the two are, they conflict.
Right.
And when I say it hurts me to pay that much, it's exactly what you said, because I know the money is not going to the band. I know or feel that $60 is still a lot of money to see 3 or 4 bands
Yes.
in a 200 cap room. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
That it's insane. I won't mention the venue, but I was at a Boston venue. I like the venue. I went to the counter. I was with a friend and his daughter, and we went to the counter. I ordered 3 sodas. It was over $20. And I can afford it. It's not that I
It's
can't
not about
afford.
that.
It's not about whether or not I can afford it. It's the concept that a diet soda for like 10 ounces of soda is $7. that's profit driven. And it's directly conflicting with my value set. So it can be
Right.
infuriating, but you're
Sure.
right. We do it because we love these bands and we want to support these bands. And so we go to see them and we pay the ticket price. Anyway, we do it anyway, right?
It's, yeah.
You know, the sound has evolved, whereas I think a lot of the punk values remain. You know, they remain as pretty entrenched punk values. The DIY. You know, I love seeing some of these people that you know we used to see at shows all the time that we've really grown with and developed relationships. They're taking those things that they learned in the punk scene and now they're making it a profession and a job, and I love that.
Yes.
I love that for people.
That's
you know?
amazing.
We know people who do graphic design. They started probably doing zines and record covers, and they still do it. You know,
Yep.
They happen to also be in bands, and
Yep.
you know,
Exactly.
but they're doing the things they love and maintaining the values they established as a young punk, you know, so to speak.
Yep. It's true.
So here's a question for you. Do you think punk music can exist? We're talking about sound versus values, and people essentially think of, you know, the punk, the leather-clad punk on stage, the ripped T-shirt or whatever people's vision of it is, and it's very guitar-driven sort of music. Do you think punk can exist without guitars?
I guess the simple answer is yes, because if it's just about attitude mainly, then I suppose so.
Yes.
I suppose it could still be punk influenced. A different genre without guitars, maybe? I don't
Yes, 100%. There are several bands. There are many bands who have no guitars in them at all, but still very much a punk aesthetic and attitude. And I love that. I love that because it's again, it's not, they're breaking outside of that stereotype. Where people might be hung up on the, well, it doesn't have guitars, so
Right,
it's
right.
not like, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Could be keyboards, like electronics, like no need to limit. I do agree. I think it's about, in that regard, it's about attitude. You know?
It's funny because at the beginning of this episode, I read this question on my phone and I thought, no. So since the beginning till now, I changed my answer.
And that's great. It's not great because I agree with you.
Yeah, no.
I think it's great.
I was able to like really think about it, open my mind, and be like, okay, actually, it's more about the attitude.
Yes. And what you're doing is challenging your own stereotype, you know, of what you thought punk was.
Right.
And it's a lot of things. And it's not a lot of things.
Also true.
That it's not so just black and white. But I firmly believe there's also some things that it absolutely cannot be. You can't approve of modern day Gestapo scooping up marginalized people or treating any people bad and still say, yeah, I love punk. I'm a punk. You know what I mean? I'm into hardcore. I share your values because you don't. Now, with that being said, is that gatekeeping?
No. Because if something is kind of made up, like this punk thing is made up, and it's like these are the understanding rules of it to function, then that's that, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Like, that sounds like this is what it's about, so if you don't align with this, then you can't be a part of it.
Yes.
It seems-
Essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty simple, but is it that simple?
I don't think it is. I don't think
Yeah.
it's that simple because it's a double-edged sword, right? You're sort of gatekeeping because you want to keep out those things. I think it's natural to want to keep out those things that you consider toxic or negative.
Right.
You don't want that there. A lot of people are drawn to punk and hardcore and metal as an alternative to that other stuff.
Yeah, I think a really easy point to this is whenever you see racism in the scene today, it gets, called out. Those people get called out quick,
Yes.
and removed.
Yes.
It's like, no, that's not going to fly here.
Yes.
It's inclusive, like you said, inclusive.
It's inclusive, and we want everybody to feel welcome and safe.
And someone can say inclusive. Well, you just ousted somebody.
Yes.
It's like, well, yes, because it's not inclusive to hate and all that.
And so I think it's a loaded question, right?
Right. It's because how I feel personally, there's certain things in life that just aren't opinions. It's like, this is wrong. Like, racism is wrong. Like, is that a matter of opinion?
I don't think
no,
it is.
No, it's called, it's about humanity. It's not like I enjoy, black coffee or I enjoy coffee with cream and sugar. That's an opinion. That's your taste. There's a difference between, like, that's a human being. Who cares what skin color they are, where they come from? Like, it doesn't matter.
Yes. And I've had this conversation with people, and I've heard other people say, well, we'll just have to agree to disagree. Be like, no,
no.
MFR, I'm not,
Oh.
I don't agree. It's just not welcome. And I think it's not acceptable. And
Yeah.
that's one of those punk ethics. And I had that belief system before I ever got into
Sure.
into punk. It just, to be around other people who also believe that, I was like, finally.
Right.
I grew up in a
Yep.
town that's very diverse. There's
Yeah.
a lot of different cultures there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a bit of racism there because of that.
Which is kind of weird to think about, but yeah.
Yes,
it's true.
it is kind of weird.
Right. You think everyone would just be cool.
Yeah. But some people just can't
And
coexist.
And I just think it's because of what they're taught. Because a baby's not born racist.
That's correct.
It's not possible. It's just not like a trait. What's your personality flaw? I'm racist. It just doesn't happen. A baby, it comes out. Like you look at kids, the most purest creatures ever. They just play with whoever because they're another kid. They don't care.
Yes.
It has to be ingrained in you. It has to be literally taught.
Of course, yeah, 100%.
So that just shows that it's messed up.
Yes. And it's just a value that doesn't fit. You know?
That's it.
It just doesn't fit. And so we come back to accessibility. I know we kind of veered away from the guitars thing, and it was just to make a point about generalizations and stereotypes. But is it really for everyone?
No, it's not for everyone. There's not one thing on this planet that's for everybody.
No.
So,
I think we see people all the time that you can tell it's their first show.
yeah, but I love that.
I love that too. That's where I was going with that.
Okay, but it's like, and I'm not saying this in a mean way at all. I guess this kind of goes. This might be contradictory, but you see someone sometimes, and they look. Maybe they're kind of trying to get into like the dancing or the pit, whatever, and they do. They're kind of foolish, but it's like the first time they're just having a good time.
Yeah,
they're not hurting anybody. They're
and
just
that's
having a
what
good time.
it's about. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that might be the coolest thing ever. That might be the most punk thing ever. And they're just having a good time. And it's like, just let them be. They're just like, oh, I like this. I never understood the whole mentality where it's like, oh, I listen to, say, like, bands that people don't think are fit a certain thing. Like, oh, that's not punk enough, metal enough for me. Like, if you listen to, like, Green Day, that's not real punk. It's like, whatever, who cares? Like, I'm sure, like, the guys in Green Day.
To be fair, an argument can be made. either way on that. My opinion is sometimes bands start one way and then grow into something different.
Right.
And I think that's we should dig into that topic
Right.
at some point. But you're right.
But yeah, it's like, or like you say, well, that band's not punk. It's like, okay, why don't you talk to the guys in the band, see what they grew up on? They probably grew up on all the stuff that's you consider real punk. It's like they just have their own version of something.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's like, if say like a person wanted to go to like a metal show, and you think they're used to listening to like bands that metalheads consider trash, like Godsmack, Disturbed, blah blah blah, whatever, and they want to just come to a show. You really want to shut someone out from this band having maybe a new fan? Why?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, hey, or you know someone at work that listens to like kind of heavier music, and you're like, you want to go to a show with me? I'm going to see these bands. And you're like, well, that's like really, that's heavy stuff. Like, oh, come check it out, you know, because I've done that, and people have been like, that was actually really cool, you know, they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So it's for anybody, I guess, that might like it, because obviously some people be like, there is no way I would ever listen to that kind of music or go to a show like that. That's fine, obviously.
Yeah, you see people who are clearly, it's their first time, they're pedestrians, they're just passing through.
Yes.
And there's a lot of that, and that's fine, and that doesn't
Sure.
impact me in any way.
No.
And I think back to earlier where we were talking about things progress and change, and it is very much youth-driven. The new people come in, and they help redefine it, they help drive it forward. What's very unpunk is wanting everything to be the same all the time, like never change, because we should change and grow in a positive way.
Right.
I think that's important, and I think there's value in both perspectives. The people who've been in it forever and the new people coming in, I think, because they're offering fresh and new perspective and experience. Like I said, there's value in both.
I think like a really good example of a band is Turnstile, because Turnstile, and they've evolved massively, obviously, but that's the biggest discussion is like, is Turnstile hardcore? And you got the the old school people like, absolutely not, and the newer kids are like, yeah, they are a hardcore band. And it's like, I think the old heads get caught up in the whole, you know, let me sit here with my arms folded and be like, listen, they are not hardcore. This is what hardcore is. It's like, just, but like, it evolves.
It does evolve.
It changes.
Yeah.
Is it so bad to just be like, they're a newer hardcore band? Who cares? Just be happy they're huge. Like, that'll draw more people into like that kind of music. But maybe they don't want that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they don't want that. I'm torn. I think it's possible to grow outside of your original,
For sure.
your home.
1000%.
You know what I mean? It's like, I think of, the small VFW floor that they used to play is now, a 2,000 capacity venue. Then there's the thought that a band could start as hardcore and then change. The Fish becomes something completely different. So it no longer really resembles the original thing. And that's
Right.
possible too. Do we still continue to call it hardcore because
Right.
they come from there?
Or because their first couple albums were.
That's
Yeah.
right. And that's kind of where I
Right.
was going with that, is like they most clearly started as a hardcore band, but I think their sound is evolving to the where it's
Not.
not necessarily hardcore, but still valuable because they're still rooted in the scene.
Right.
It's not like they've grown beyond that. They're like, oh well, we're playing these huge shows now, and so I almost knocked the mic off the table. That's what that is.
That's pretty punk.
Yeah, it's it's my genetics. I talk with my hands a lot.
He's getting really upset right now.
I'm getting really upset
He's throwing help.
over this turnstile conversation.
I don't
And-
feel safe.
I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe around me either. And Turnstile, they do nothing for me. I respect them. I think they're a good band. It's just not something when I go to listen to music, it's not a band. But you nailed it when you said it's, to some people it is hardcore. That's their version of it.
And that's a fact.
And that's a fact.
It,
And so we, as older people, there are some people who just, again, don't want it to ever change, and that's your version. And that's cool. Hold on to that, and people can stay where they are.
exactly.
That's cool.
Of course.
But to these kids, this is their truth, their hardcore, this is their band. You know?
Because you can sit there in the corner and pout all you want, but things change no matter what.
Totally.
So either stay mad at something that's useless, or just grow too.
Yeah, stay mad, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Or just be like, it's still not my thing, but those kids are having fun. Just and let them. Because guess what? Stuff we listened to 20, 30 years ago, someone else was like, that's stupid.
Yeah.
That's not real. So,
And I personally we go to a lot of shows. I don't like every band
no.
that plays every show.
No.
I just don't. But what I do love is watching the people that do love that band and watching them go sick and just
Right.
have this look on their face like,
Yeah, because you know that feeling.
yes, exactly.
That's the best.
And who am I?
Right.
You know?
Like, easy. Stop getting into that.
Yeah.
Stop enjoying yourself.
Right. Stop enjoying yourself. That's not my what I think, you know?
Right.
Be like, bro, nobody's challenging you, man. Nobody, like, it's cool.
Yeah, there's not going to be a test after.
Yeah. With that being said, part of me naturally wants to protect that. I want to hold it close to my chest, you know?
You're right.
And not let go, because that feeling that they're feeling is the feeling I want to hold on to.
Right.
And so it's just different, you know? Just different. No less valuable, just different.
Right.
Us old guys, I think, need to listen to the young folks more. And vice versa. There's some young folks that really should listen to what some of the old guys or the old people, not just men, want to say, because we've already learned the lesson, so we have a lot to offer, you know? So
True.
I think we're back to everybody has sort of their own piece of it. Yeah, that hardcore question can go on forever and ever. Everybody has their own opinion of it.
Well, it's like another example that comes to mind too is Motorhead. So they've even said we're rock and roll. People like their metal. It's like, what do you think of that? If the band themselves says we are rock and roll, I'm sorry, I'm calling them rock and roll. They're the band. They're saying that's their genre.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm pretty sure they can make that call for themselves.
Exactly. Who am I to tell a band if they think they're a hardcore band that they're a hardcore? Who the fuck?
Right? Who cares?
I may not like the band.
Right.
I personally may think they're garbage, but it's not for me to define who they are. I can have my opinion. You can have your opinion, and we know our opinions are always right. But it's like you said, it's just our opinion. I see a lot of fighting, particularly online. I think in person it's much more of a unified. I think hardcore is much more accepting and unified than it ever was. I think we're at a place now where it is more accepting. I can remember a time where it was plagued by a lot of violence, and it was really dangerous, and part of me thinks that was what made it exciting, the danger of it, you know? Not explicit, like, immediate danger, but there was an inherent risk
Yeah.
to being at a hardcore show, you know?
Like early Madball or something. It was, you had to look out for yourself, for sure.
You did. Yeah.
Which it was kind of exciting, actually, in a dangerous way. You know?
Yeah. And so I think it's more than ever, it's a safer space. I rarely, don't get me wrong, when people get jacked up and, you know, testosterone gets flowing and you got some riffage and people get kind of crazy, stuff happens.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to see anyone get actually hurt.
No, but fights break up, but not nearly. If overall, it's a pretty welcoming, safe
Yep.
space. One of the things that I think has changed a lot since when we first started going to shows is the internet.
Oh, yeah.
It was a game changer, not only for promotion, but the ability to communicate. And it's good or bad, right? It's good or bad. And so I think what the internet scenes, quote unquote, air quotes, do well is it can be an easy access point for people, right? So say they're interested but they're not quite ready to physically go to a show, but they're interested. They can explore endlessly. Everything is pretty much available if you know where to find it. And
for sure.
You can explore safely and without
true.
judgment.
True.
You know, you don't have to put yourself in a pit. You don't have to experience someone's judgment unless you want to. With that being said, I think a lot of people online are extremely judgmental and have a lot to say.
That's the understatement of the year.
Yes.
I love YouTube comments, but anyway.
YouTube comments, keyboard warriors.
That's so
you know
great.
what I mean?
I love it.
People are
See the
very
most-
bold.
And I see the most absurd
Absurd.
things, which I kind of do like. It's kind of funny.
Sometimes it's funny. Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes
but it's like, all right, like,
sometimes it's intentionally hurtful
Of
and
course.
mean and vicious.
which still sometimes can be funny.
Correct.
I'll admit that.
But I guess my point was sort of, you know, it allows for people with minimal impact to explore their interests, you know, so they could
Right.
explore metal, punk,
Right. I mean, just-
whatever.
I do it all the time. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
do I like this band? Because think about before, like before the internet, we would have to buy something.
Yes.
And how many times have you bought something that's sucked?
A lot.
It's just like, ugh, really? You know, so, which I think it's actually warped our brains, unfortunately, but because everything's so easily obtainable. Like, oh, check out this band, cool. You're on Spotify the next second. No, I don't like them. Next. You know, before you actually had to, like, really listen to something.
And seek things out.
That's another, which was exciting.
And it was a lot more difficult, as you said, than just getting online, typing in the name of the band, and then you have all these,
Right. Just everything.
everything, provide all the information about the band, where they're from, even though I'm not so good at that.
Listen to the previous episode.
Yes. And yeah. I failed my homework. So.
Miserably.
But you can explore endlessly through streaming.
Yeah, I think you said, like, off when we weren't recording, you said a band can play a live show, and the next day it's on YouTube.
Yes.
So if you weren't there, it's still not the biggest deal in the world.
Yes.
You can just watch it the next day, which is awesome.
Which I do a lot because sometimes I just don't want to leave my house. Like today, it's like negative 12 or some stuff.
Exactly.
I am not looking to be out in public.
It was like when Biohazard played those reunion shows in New York a couple of years ago. Went to the first one. They were playing the next night too, but they had like a Zoom thing. So I bought that too and just literally had the laptop open and just watched it live like I was there. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's great,
The comfort of my own home, you know.
and that's the benefit of technology.
Yes.
And I sort of lump that in with the internet scene in general. Like you could literally see a video for all your favorite bands and never have to leave your house. I love the idea of making things even more accessible to people. I've been able to see videos that I didn't even know existed of bands that I didn't get to see when they were at their peak.
Yep. It's awesome.
And I love that. It's a historical archive, and it's essentially free. And so I think the one negative about charging access for that is I think you would limit. I think you would add additional. You would make money, which is nice for people to pay you for your art. But I think you're also sort of, there's some people who just aren't going to pay or don't have the ability to pay, and so
right.
you're those people aren't included, and so maybe that's contrary to many of the points we've been trying to make, or not.
Yeah.
It's sort of that, where's the line between making money? And I'd love to know what other people think too. The line between what's acceptable in punk and hardcore and metal and what's not. And where's the line where money, the influence of money, become a problematic. I'd be curious to where people draw their line.
Right.
We know those people that are they're too punk. You know what I mean? Like they won't
Right.
go to, if it's not at like an AmVets or somebody's basement.
Right. Or if it's Live Nation, they're not going.
They won't go.
Which I respect.
100%.
Because I couldn't do that.
I think it's awesome.
I do too. I don't have that power, that strength.
No.
I just don't.
Like if I want to see a band, and I'm older now, so I have disposable income.
We just have more money, yeah.
Have more money, and I'm able to do it. But there are people who intentionally avoid it, even though they do have the resources, and that is so respectable to me.
1,000%.
And that's that sort of punk mentality, that aesthetic, that Ian MacKaye sort of attitude. That's super respectable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if I want to see a band, and the only way I can do that is to pay those higher ticket prices,
right?
What do? So it's sort of a compromise. You're sort of compromising your own.
Right. I mean, it's hard because of one aspect, you're like, well, I'm not going to live my life like that because I want experiences or I want to be happy. Like, and plus, I'm one person. Am I going to change anything by not going?
Mm-hmm.
I've had those thoughts, but still super respectable.
Yes. And I don't get caught up in material things, right? So I don't need designer products, and I don't, I like having, I like comfort,
Sure.
Especially as I get older.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the experience. And so that's the live thing, the participation, especially I think we're spoiled being part of, the scene, that it ruins some other shows, like concerts that,
mm-hmm.
your average person refers to. You get a seat, you sit there, you watch a show. It doesn't hold the same excitement for me. Sometimes, depends on the band, and it's
right. I think different genres, I've seen bands that aren't even close, like they're more like rock pop.
Yeah.
And you're sitting in a seat and you're like, this is a good show.
Right.
But
yeah. I mean, I can think recently where I've been to very large venues to see, and it was great. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a different vibe than being inches from the people on stage and shoulder to shoulder with the person next to you singing along.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Knowing every word, piling on top of each
best.
other. It's so participatory. And that's something that you can't capture. You don't get that from
Right.
from a large venue.
And you can't explain it. If you don't understand it, you can't explain it.
You cannot.
That's it.
And
know.
I don't expect other people to
No.
understand. But you're right. It's you can't explain it. It's that if you know, you know.
Yeah, it's so
sort of
true.
thing. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about. So, we talk about online. What do we think about the difference between online and not so much the difference, but to me, this is about the live experience, right? It's and again, we're spoiled. It's
Yep.
about the live experience, and watching videos online is great, and chat rooms and learn. It's a great way to learn about stuff and to share your interests with other people. But where it's happening, what it's all about is the live
Right.
experience.
Yep.
Seeing your friends or making new friends, and just feeling the energy of a room that are all there for the same thing. Can't be beat, and it can't be substituted with there's no online experience that'll give you the same feeling.
True.
Yeah. And I encourage people who have not taken that next step to really explore that. Go out, go to the show, get your friend, get in the car or the bus,
Yep.
and just do it. Just go to the show.
Yeah.
And I promise you, if you love the videos, you'll love the shows even more.
And it's kind of cool you can see videos now, because when we started going, there was no videos. So I was like, you're walking in there like, I've heard stories. And I was actually afraid to go for a while because I was like, I've heard it gets pretty crazy. I don't know, what am I getting into? But without having seen anything first and going to a show, the first chord of the first band, I was like, yes, this is where I need to be forever.
Yes.
And actually, when I was on tour, we were at a stop in Texas, and I remember walking into the venue. It was like load-in time, and walking up onto the stage. There's no one there, just some crew members, and feeling like this feels like home. It's the only time I've ever felt that way in my life. Like I belong here.
Yes.
It was incredible.
Yeah, that's how I felt at my very first show.
Yeah. So it's I mean, if you know, you know, and if you haven't gone yet, like Pat said, please go experience it for yourself. And it's not for you. If it's really not for you, it's just not for you, and that's fine. But it's like nothing. There's nothing else like it in the world.
Right. Right.
So,
which is why I think we've been involved for it. So not only is it just a love for the music, it just everything, the connection I feel, the just the energy, and again, the danger. You can watch videos online. There's nothing hazardous about that. You don't have to worry about getting spin kicked to the head or someone jumping on your neck from stage diving.
yep.
Or some jabron trying to crowd kill you. There's nothing dangerous about it. And the reason I keep referring to the danger is because it's part of the excitement. For me, it doesn't feel as dangerous because there have been times where I thought I was going to die.
Yes.
Like literally been in situations, not just in the pit, but in shows where there's a situation where it could be hazardous to your health. Let's put it that way. And not so much now. Just older, smarter,
Yeah.
whatever. But that's part of the excitement.
I think people see us now and they're like, all right, don't pick on the old guy.
Yeah,
Just leave him alone.
exactly.
He's got his New Balance on.
Right. Orthopedics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
I got my compression socks.
exactly. My white dad shoes.
Yes. It's all about comfort.
That's right.
It's all about comfort. Which is funny because we joke about it amongst ourselves, right?
Yeah, we're not
you know what I
joking.
mean? Like I see kids run around in Converse, and I'm like, I